Happy Monday to each of you, and welcome to our show. This is Perspective. We are back live after a 2 week hiatus, but I do hope that you enjoyed the pre recorded shows that we went back and showed you. Those were actually some of our most requested shows. So we'll be live pretty much for the rest of the year, but did want to just take a little break. And so I hope each of you have had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, your friends, and your loved ones, and you are preparing for Christmas. As you can tell, we've changed our backdrop. We have the Christmas music playing because it is that time of year. So y'all know how we do it. Hello to everyone who's watching, and hello to who will join us. And I'm asking, if you're already watching tonight, go ahead and tag and share with others in the podcast. We do have a great show as always tonight. Ursula Smith is backstage virtually. She is the visionary, teacher, and choreographer of Ursula Smith Dance Company, and we'll be talking to her in just a few moments. So again, we ask that you go ahead and tag and share this video podcast with everyone. We're going to have great conversation tonight and even have a little fun. So again, hello to everyone who's watching, and let's get started. And also, if this is your first time watching the podcast, welcome. And if this is your first time, let us know in the comments so we can give you a personal shout out. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay, I'm going to bring in our guest for the evening. And Ursula is a Birmingham native. And I learned earlier today that she is also an alumni of one of the greatest high schools in the Birmingham city. That is none other than the Huffman High School, where we are the Vikings. And Ursula came out before I did, but it's always great to be able to interview a fellow alumni of Huffman. Ursula is a wife, a mother, a daughter, and as we always already stated, she is the visionary of her own dance company. So, without any further delay, it is my great pleasure to introduce to some and present to others Mrs. Ursula Smith.
Hey,
Good evening, and
good
thank you so
evening. What an introduction. Oh my God, I feel so special.
are. And thank you so much for joining us. And like I tell all of my guests, you're no longer a guest of the Perspective family. You are now family. So we look forward to this interview and many more to come in the future. So, again, hello to everyone watching. And if you would
Yes.
go ahead and share the podcast. So, Ursula, let's get started. Haven't done this in a while, but let's open up with the icebreaker. Not going to be anything too hard. This is just something fun that we do, especially leading up to the holidays. Your favorite memory as a child for Christmas. Kind of take us back and talk about that.
Oh my God. Let me see. Probably not my favorite, but the funniest. All
Okay.
right. Uh, that's just what just came to mind. So I have two younger brothers, and I remember Christmas. My mom bought my brothers a He-Man sword.
Hmm.
They got He-Man swords, and they got something else. And I remember I got like an MC Hammer cassette tape, and something else. Anyway, we complained. I don't know. I think we was expecting more. So our mother was like 38 high, and she took all our stuff back. So that's like in my head. Because my brother, oh, they got sleeping bags. So it was like they got two He-Man swords, and then they got sleeping bags. And then I got like an MC Hammer cassette tape. I mean, I get it. And a little radio. But I was like, that's it, Mom. And she was like, oh, I got y'all. Took it all back to the store. So my most memorable. Yeah. It's like you ain't grateful. Oh, I got you. Right. Back to the store we go. So that's like one of my fondest, not so fun memory of Christmas. Be thankful
That
for what you get. Thankful for
absolutely
what
that
you
is family.
always.
So if we have parents watching with small children, y'all, if y'all get ideas, oh wow. So see, you can learn some
Woo.
ideas this season. But that is a great one. My and I'll go ahead and share mine. Mine, I think I've shared this before, but it's still funny. Mine, I was in the third grade at Charles A. Brown Elementary School, and one of my favorite teachers, Miss Harris. I don't even know how this came up. She let the cat out of the bag that Santa Claus wasn't nobody but your mom and daddy. And so, there were kids in the class crying. And when she confirmed it, I kind of thought about it. I'm like, okay, so now that hearing you say this, it makes sense. Well, guess what? When I alluded to the fact and my parents realized, I realized it was no Santa Claus. The gifts got smaller. So yeah, yeah. I'm sure I have a lot of people on who can relate to that when you realized it wasn't a Santa Claus. Those gifts got smaller. So yeah, I do have some more, and I try to share a different one every week leading up to our last show before Christmas. But that's just one that sticks out. Okay, let's go ahead and get started because I'm excited about this interview. Just even of our pre-chat, wanting to get to know more about you. So let's go back. When did you first of all tell us? I know I did a little bit in the introduction. Tell us in your own words, who is Ursula Smith?
Oh, Ursula Smith is a giver of life. Ursula Smith is an inspiration. Ursula Smith is a person who helps all that she meets, everybody that she meets. Ursula Smith is passionate, zealous. She wakes up every day as if it was her last. Every day she gets up, she pursues purpose. Ursula is a go getter. She makes ways out of no way. She's a creative. She's a jump starter. She's a fighter. She's a warrior. She's a lover at heart. Um, and she loves dance. Dance is her way to communicate the very essence of who she is. Um, she's a storyteller. She's a low key comedian. She's all those things. She's a daughter at heart. She loves without conditions. That's who Ursula Smith is.
I love it. I love it. So you hit on it briefly about dance. When did you first develop a passion and a love for dance?
Oh God, I was a kid. I was preschool,
Okay,
and maybe and honestly, the way my mom tell I've always been like a mover, but it was actually my love for the arts, and dance is one of the things I just really keened into. Preschool and my first play, the Tom Thumb Wedding. Like if you're a real kid, you know, Tom Thumb Wedding. So that was like my first um, interaction with just the arts in general. And then um, when I got into elementary school, um, I was in the children's choir, and through that medium, I was exposed to dance. I was exposed to singing and acting and things of that nature. But dance was just what I grabbed to the most. And then that was kind of like my kickstart.
gotcha.
Hmm.
And so fast forwarding on, because I know even before years I got to Huffman, Huffman has always had a great fine arts program, whether it be band, choir. So I know that that presented several opportunities. So I'm sure tell us about some of the opportunities that you had for even before you decided to venture out on your own.
Okay, well, and this is why. Side note: the arts is so important to schools. You never know who life you touch for the better. Arts
Absolutely.
is important for school. Keep arts alive in school. Theater, dance, keep it. Music, keep it in school. People, hello
Absolutely.
out there. um,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it was limited exposure as it relates to like what I'm doing now. So I didn't know everything I found was in school and actually church.
okay.
My first encounter with just um dance on stage was church. And so I was like, oh, they doing this in church? Oh, okay. I still want to be a part. So that really kind of like ignited my pursuit. And then later on, um 16, 17, get ready to graduate from high school. And there was this question a woman posed to me. She said, "What is it that you love doing?" Because I was just really trying to figure it out. And I wrote down. She said, "Write down all the things that you love doing." Everything I loved to do was centered around dance. And I handed a piece of paper. She handed back. She said, "This is what you're supposed to be doing in life." And I was like, "What?" And the way it sounds so simple, but I was like, she's like, "Or you just conveyed what's in your heart." And she said, "That is what you're supposed to be doing." So that was kind of like my journey as it relates to my pursuit. And I haven't looked back since. And that was like I was 17.
Awesome. And I've seen you dance several times, whether at MTC by yourself, and that
Yeah.
passion is after all these years, it's like it gets richer and richer every time, so to speak. So let's talk about the first time that you had the honor of choreographing a dance. Because for those who don't know, you've seen this show enough to know that I'm in the arts as well by theater arts. And theater arts and dance, they have a lot of similarities. So stepping out to choreograph that first routine, what was that like?
Oh, let's see. Oh Lord, you asking me questions I haven't. I mean, I really haven't thought about this stuff in years. Um, at the time when I decided that this was what I was going to do, I immediately started traveling. Right. It wasn't what I wanted to do. Really wasn't even on the collegiate level. Now you hear, So I started traveling St. Louis, East St. Louis, New York, Georgia. So those were my three places that I was traveling to study abroad, and I was bringing it back home and implementing it in my church.
Okay.
So I started creating dances in church. And so my journey with that, man, the first time it was it was amazing because it was just this raw passion that I had. And as I began to study, I was like, this platform is a means for me to create and to speak and to tell a story, to inspire, impact, and unlift, to lift.
Right.
I believe as artists, anytime you have an opportunity on a platform of that magnitude, whether it be church or the theater, wherever that platform is, you have the ability to inspire because you never know who's watching. You'd be amazed at that. So that was my first experience. It was like, whoa, I was to be able to take what's in my head and to articulate it on bodies. It was a rush because I get to express myself. I get to take what's in here and put it out on the stage. So that was, yeah, my first. It was church, and then I evolved from there and started into the community and went on from there. But to answer your question, yeah, it was in church.
When you realized that God had trusted you with this gift, because it is definitely a gift,
Yes.
what kind of what kind of thoughts were running through your mind at this time? Because so many times, I think as artists, and we'll just say dance and theater, I think sometimes we take it for granted that every time we get on the stage, we'll be able to operate in those gifts, and not realizing that it's something that God has trusted us with. And if we misuse them or abuse them, just like He's trusted us with the gift, He can take that gift away. So that's why it's so important that we guard those gifts. And
Mhm.
we're gonna get into that a little later on. But tell us about the first time that you realized, hey, God, you really trusted me with this gift.
Um, I just heard someone you said you said how we have to guard our gift. So the scripture comes to mind: guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. So
Absolutely.
remember, I told you when that lady asked me to write down everything that I love doing, and I wrote it down. She said, "Now that's what's in your heart. Do that." So I took that as a vow. I told God. I told God. I remember I was looking out the window. I was still staying with my mom at the time, and I was looking. I was about 18. I looked out the window. I said, God, if you would just take care of me, I promise I'll always give it back to you. See, my foundation, I am who I am because of him.
Right.
Might
Absolutely.
start my foundation. I know people have these different stories, and it's okay. I was 3 years old when I started at the Mary Jane School of Dance, and I matriculated on to the Academy of the and da 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 da, da and that's good. That wasn't my lot. That wasn't my mom did put me. It wasn't like that for me. So for me, I had to find ways to express what I couldn't articulate at the time. I knew I had something. So yeah, I told God He trusts me. Yeah, I did. I said, if you would just take care of me and trust me with this, I'll forever pursue you with my gifts or give it back. So I'm scared of that. I don't operate outside of that. And everybody's journey is different, but for mine, I know who gave it to me. So I always owe it to God, and everything I try to do. I try to do it in a way where I am an inspiration to someone, because I used to long for that, but I didn't have that model, like what I am to so many people. I've had people along my journey that has been very impactful. They're like my angels along the way. But yeah, to talk to say God, man, gosh, that's a deep question. Like everything that I'm doing up until now is to bring Him glory.
Absolutely.
Nobody's ever
Absolutely.
asked a question like that. So yeah. It's like I owe it all, literally. Like I
Absolutely.
don't know everything I do. I can't because that's how I started. So
Mhm.
that's how we end, right? So yeah, it's a good
And then
question.
when you acknowledge him and everything and you give him the glory and honor, that keeps you humble. We're human, but I just believe that when you give him glory and when you constantly remind yourself that without God, with the gift and the giver, I'm nothing without him, that keeps you humble. Because every time you get on that stage, you realize I could miss a routine, but he's keeping me, so he's gonna guide this through me. So it's just awesome. So fast forward, talk about the steps in you journeying to open your own dance company.
Oh, let's see. I um between 18 and 22, 17 and 22 age range. I was traveling abroad, was going out and in, out and in. And one of the things I realized is I did not see myself when I came home. And as it relates to a certain standard of, of dance, I didn't fit in that mold,
Right.
right? I didn't have the body type, or I had wide hips and big thighs, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go in that class. I don't look like none of these girls in here. But when I started traveling, and I would be in the room with people that look like me, and I'm talking about can walk the floor. When I mean about walking the floor, they could these girls from West African to modern to Dunham, all the things that I've been exposed to, and I'm like, wow. I started to see myself, and even one of my beloved dance companies, Forces of Nature. I remember spending in New York, Abdel Salon. I remember being up there with them, and I just remember being so inspired, and I'm like, whoa. And then down here, I was a part of in Birmingham. I was a part of the flamenco dance company. A lot of people just really, really get freaked out about that. Like for several years, um, that was my first dance company I was a part of, and then Undabu was a South African dance company by Jomo and Asha uh, Ulu, and somewhere in between all of that, and I kind of skipped. I said, I I was 23 at the time. I said, you know what? I need to back up. I was like, I need to be a voice or create a space where girls like me can come and train, and not feel ashamed or
Mhm.
expose them to culturally who they are, but invest in them in a way where they're not intimidated by taking dance. So I opened up my first dance studio at the age of 23
Okay.
in Fairfield. So I went in there, my first build out. I was 23 at the time, and my goal was to put a cultural approach to dance and to break the stereotypes that dance belongs to everyone and not to a specific body type or a specific race or a specific whatever. You know what I mean? So that was my start. That's what made me, because I was like, no little girl should feel alienated or intimidated because they may not look what people standard is. They may not look like that, but everybody, uh these girls in the community, these young men, they deserve a space, a safe haven to train,
Okay.
to be exposed, to be enlightened. So yeah, I was 23 at the time. Dancing to Destiny was my first. Dancing to Destiny Studio and Company. That was my first studio space.
And
Yeah.
so since that time, it's obvious how you've grown. We're going to talk about the upcoming production in just a few moments because I really love to hear how that started and to where it's evolved now. But kind of tell our listening and viewing audience some of the dance classes that you do offer with your dance company.
Oh well, we do it all. Which now is Dancing to Destiny. Now it's Ursula Smith Dance. Um, we offer we do West African dance, we do jazz, we do modern, which I introduce my girls to Dunham technique, and which is very important. Um, we do ballet, of course. So those are the main focal points, and just making sure we lay a foundation for kids to have an understanding of dance, but have a cultural approach to that as well. So yeah, that those are some of the classes we offer. We have something for adults. We have like a dance mom dance class. We have our Afro aerobics. So everything I do, I always make sure it's a cultural approach to it, where people are connected in some type of way. So yeah, that's just some of the stuff we do. We offer classes.
So to that person, because we've already talked about the things you offer for children, but and what age do you start with children?
Two.
Okay, okay,
Two. We have like these little tutus on Tuesdays. We do them in spells. Like, but yeah, we start from age 2 and on through adults.
okay. And so we always focus on the children, but there may be some adults watching who have saying, well, dance was something that I enjoyed, and I've been thinking about getting into this thing. What would you say to that adult to let them know that there is room for them with your dance company?
Well, it's always room. And you know what? It's crazy. I think I've become like this space for those type of people that either always wanted to pursue or used to, and just life happened. So it's like I've become like that hub. I say to that person, if it's a part of you, it's a part of you. If it's in you, it's in you. And so I know I'm just one of, I can't speak for everybody else, but I know what I decided to do was create a space for that, for those adult dancers to dream and create and to just pursue that part of them. So,
Okay. So let's talk about your upcoming production in December, the Brown Sugar Nutcracker. Go ahead and give us those dates.
oh, Brown Sugar Nutcracker is December the 17th and 18th. Is two shows left because one show is already gone, people. So we have December 17th, 7:30 left, and then our December um 18th, 4 o'clock. That's Sunday. So yeah. Tickets are going fast. And also for my VIP experience, the 7:30 show, guys, it's like 14 tickets left. Don't miss out. So yeah, those are the dates for the show.
And so, kind of take us back on the backstory, because this is not the Nutcracker that many of our parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles were raised, but you have done a fabulous job in modernizing it where it can be something that we can claim as something for our culture. So, kind of talk about the brainchild and the history behind you bringing this awesome theatrical piece to life.
Okay, well, ooh, that's a good question too. I never get nobody ever asks me these type of questions, but it's so good, so I can tell you. So, of course, let's go back. So, 2003, I started dancing to Destiny, right? And so for years, that's what I've done. Even when I closed down my studio in '07, and then I just started traveling and moving around. I was doing these small on a small scale productions every year up to So I was getting to a point, I remember just a couple years in married, and I remember standing in the room, and I remember the Lord was telling me, seriously, not to make this all spiritual. He said, "It's time to change." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And he was like, "If you want it bigger, you got to change." It's 2018. So I
Okay.
was like, what could I do to reach, to have a bigger reach, to have a bigger impact with people? I was like, I don't know what I can do. And I just remember standing there in my son's room, and I was like, okay, do your interpretation, adapt the Nutcracker, but put your own spin to it. And I was sitting there like, well, how could I, what could I? And I immediately started just researching the essence of what the Nutcracker is, not trying to really do what everybody else doing. Because let's be honest, there are like over 700 versions of the Nutcracker. It's
Mhm.
not every city, every state across the globe.
Absolutely.
But I was like, what could I bring to this story in a way where it can be relative to today's generation,
Mhm.
and yet everyone could take something from it. So I decided to put a cultural approach to it, and I changed the storyline just a little bit, but the foundation is still there. And I made it visually appealing to where people could relate. Case in point, so one of the scenes in the traditional Nutcracker, it's this grand waltz. It's this grand party where um, you know, it's just traditionalized, like waltz dancing and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, that's cool, that's beautiful. I said, but it's nothing like having an ugly sweater Christmas party where people get together, have a fish fry, have a barbecue, have a good time. People can relate to that. So I just really kind of studied out how I would take on the scene. And it's been done so many ways, but I was like, it hasn't been done like that. So um that was my start in 2018. And honestly, it was again like when I was younger and I choreographed that first dance. It was all in my head. And I was like, how I'm gonna take all of what I got at the same time. I transitioned my last concert for Dance into Destiny was that summer. And I started preparing immediately for the Brown Sugar Nutcracker simultaneously. So
Okay.
I transitioned from Dancing to Destiny to Ursula Smith Dance, and then I dropped Brown Sugar Nutcracker that December 2018. And it was an amazing journey. So I went from a small audience of maybe 60 to 80 people to over 500 people in that same year. So that was my impact, and that was my bigger reach. I took this project to kind of make it relative to today's generation, but at the same time, it was like, I get a chance to impact more kids, expose more children, and
Absolutely.
that's definitely what it's been doing since the start. So yeah, it's so much that I don't have much time. It's so much to that story, but I'm just kind of summing it up for you. But yeah, that's how the Brown Sugar Nutcracker was birthed. And I was too with the name. I was like, let's see. You got it's so many. You got the urban, and then you got the hot chocolate, then you got chocolate, then
Absolutely.
you got the It's so many versions. I said, you know what? But it's never brown sugar. Let's throw brown sugar in there. So
I love it.
yeah,
Then
so
I also want
because people say the black nutcracker. I said, no, honey, it's brown. It's brown sugar.
to.
So yeah.
And then I also want to commend you because 2020, during the year of when we were all shut down during the pandemic, you found a way to do a virtual presentation. And when I tell you, I was blown away just to see your creative hat come on and how the thing that I loved about it was it put a display on so many attractive spots in Birmingham, spots that I think that we don't talk enough about.
Yes.
So yeah, that it was amazing, 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 amazing.
Yes. Let me tell you. Let me tell you about that. And I know that project is yet. I know I'm not done with it yet. It
Hmm.
needs to be seen.
Hmm.
Now, we in the height of pandemic, my platform totally goes from in person to virtual. I am literally this right here. We're doing that for a solid year and a half. And I was like, well, man, I was talking to my husband. He's like, well, you may have to sit this one out. I don't know. I said, no, we have to do something. I said, let's do a film. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And I often joke about this. I said, now, we ain't have not one film permit. I always say that. It's just because it's funny that I was literally me and a good friend of mine I've met actually that same year, Martez Knowles. And I called him up. I was like, hey, I got this project. He's like, what you got? I said, I want to do a film. And we're going to call it Brown Sugar in the Magic City. He was like, what? I said, yeah, you down? I was like, these are dates. So it's literally me and him, one cameraman and me. And so we through the streets of Birmingham. And I'm like, yo, okay, parents, listen. we gonna meet here. But if the block hot, we gonna move it down. We're gonna move it down this way. But it was like taking the Brown Sugar Nutcracker into the Magic City and highlighting the resilience, the beauty of what Birmingham is. And I know, Birmingham people tend to think, okay, civil rights, but it's deeper than that. It
Mhm.
because of civil rights and because of how the resilience that Birmingham, the citizens of Birmingham have shown through the years. I was like, let's highlight that. Let's highlight Sardis Baptist Church
Absolutely.
who was pivotal in that era, right? Let's highlight the Vulcan. Let's highlight, Kelly Ingram Park, right? The whole district. So it was still, man. I still look at it often, and I just get teary eyed because I was like, a lot of people look. I've never done film before, but now I have like a passion to kind of like just play around with it now. But we did that in 2 weekends. We shot that in 2 weekends, like
It was
1 month, and then the next month we had to come back, and the rehearsals were totally virtual.
it
Those
was
girls never saw each
amazing.
other. Yeah, they never saw each other till it was time to film.
Wow. And I'm not just saying this. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
So
like I said again, close to you on that because that just shows how we had to come out, think out of the box during COVID. My
had to.
theater company, we kind of panicked at first, but we did something similar. So, and here's the thing: none of us know what's going to happen from day to day. They were talking about us getting back into mass because we could see numbers drastically pick up. So, I would encourage every creative that's watching tonight, always think out of the box because you always want to have a backup plan be, in order to keep entertaining audiences. We like to think that COVID is going to slim down and simmer down, but none of us just don't know from day to day. So it's always great to have those backup plans in place. Spirit of excellence. That's one thing that I can say that everything I've seen you do, even when it was just you, it's always been done with the spirit of excellence. Talk about the importance of doing things with the spirit of excellence because everyone who watches this podcast, I talk about that all the time. I don't care if you're baking a pound cake in the kitchen, it has to be done with the spirit of excellence because when you take it out of the oven, your results are going to show. It's going to either going to be one or two things. And I can say this because I'm a cook. I ain't telling you nothing I hadn't seen. If it's wet, you're going to know why. You need to check your oven temperature or you put an extra egg in there. It's just those things, spirit of excellence, and we can do many other comparisons. But kind of talk about doing things with the spirit of excellence.
Oh, well, I know one of the reasons why I have this spirit of excellence is because of my mother.
Hmm.
My mother exemplify and ooze excellence, right? Everything must be done in decency and in order. So that has been embedded into me as a child. And so my mother is a big part of the reason why the way I present and everything has to be of a certain level because number one, my girls and my boys, my students, they deserve the best. I've always believed in whatever space I was in, whatever space I'm in, that it should exemplify beauty and safety and a haven where people could come in to really lay down what they have and then pick up, you know what I'm saying? Pick up positivity, pick up inspiration. So I believe in putting my best foot forward in everything I do. Everything I do. I'm not perfect, but I strive for perfection. It's a
Absolutely.
difference. So I think as artists, we gotta first of all take time with our craft, really embody our craft. Every day is a day that you can learn something. And I think, as my husband said this not too long ago, he said, professional development is ongoing. As an artist, like, what are you doing to professionally develop, continuous develop your gift? And I think that's where kind of like the spirit of excellence is, people kind of you can tell, like you just said, that awesome analogy is like, if you're not constantly feeding the artist in you, if you're not constantly putting something in, when you present, I can tell you ain't spent no time. I can tell you need more work. Oh, I can tell you may not necessarily need to be, you may need to be learning from somebody,
Hmm.
because everybody's not this right here. Everybody's not meant to do.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, some people need to just follow and not lead.
Absolutely.
Has a lot to do with this, because you have to handle so much, and then it has to always present itself in a way where people don't know, may not know the hell you've gone through, or may not know what, but when the smoke clears, nothing but excellence. So I'm a
Absolutely.
stickler. That's why my costumes, everything, like, okay, we ain't finna do no patches. These girls, okay, we got to, it has to be, it has to be of a and if it is a patch, everybody need to have the same patch in the same place. Everybody need to be the same. So I'm like real, and that's, I get that from my mother. Like that just from coming, getting up, making sure your day is set, and really pursuing life in a way where it exudes excellence, even outside of the stage, off the stage. It should be kind of like the same. So yeah, that's my
Absolutely.
take on having the
I love
spirit of it.
I love it. And what I want to do next, we tend to go here, especially when we have creatives or authors on, because as a fellow creative, I know the journey hasn't always been easy. I'm sure there was some nights when you said, "Really, God," or told David, "Okay, David, I don't know about this." So, can you just share a story of, in your own way, where you really had to rely on your faith in God, since being a business owner and entrepreneur?
So many stories. Because when one's life is a faith,
Hmm.
a lifestyle, and not
Absolutely.
just for a moment. I say that all the time. As an entrepreneur, as a business person, faith has to be a lifestyle, because you don't know, you have seasons when you have it, and you have seasons when you don't.
Absolutely.
You have seasons when you hot, and you have seasons when you cold. You have seasons when people with you, and then you have seasons when people like they don't even know you, right? So it's like, for me, what has kept me, just in all honesty, is knowing that's what's in my heart. Remember, back to that little piece of paper. This is, I've been bred for this, right?
Right.
So God has to always honor that, because I told him, I made a vow that I'll pursue it. So I pursue him every day with these gifts. It ain't easy. It is not easy, but it's so worth it in the end. I have to continuously remind myself of my why, like why. And then it is so, God always sends me messages through people, whether it's children or people I've taught over the years, and or people I've mentored. They don't know it, but sometimes that's my push. Or, my son now, now I'm a mom, and I'm looking at these faces, and, sometimes they'll see me when I'm like, it's like, Mom, I love you, Mom. Sometimes they give me that extra push. And then my husband, this is a performing arts house, right? So we both are in the arts world, right?
Right.
So he's like, okay, Ursula, let's get to it. Keep pushing. And I'm like, okay. So it's those little things, but I just have to remember constantly my why, and why I started, and keeping that zeal, because it's definitely not easy. And every year, even with the Brown Sugar Nutcracker, it's the challenges, like financial challenges. Like when you see Ursula Smith, it's Ursula Smith. It ain't Ursula Smith and Wells Fargo and all these. Like, ain't no sponsorship at the not yet. Anyway, somebody come pick it up. I'll pick it up. But it's like, woo, how are we doing budget every year? Because it's a massive budget. You talking about 100,000 plus, and I'm like, ooh, do it, God, because I ain't got it. I don't have it. So it's like, it's one of those things that keeps me going and keeps me driving, just watching God as I navigate and continue to walk forward, how He makes the way plain.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just continuously walking towards that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I keep it going.
Then one of the final questions, I always do this when we have female creatives on because our audience is made up of so many different people, but a large part of our audience is always females. So I want you to, in whatever way you see fit, speak to that woman, no matter what age is, who has started a business, put it down, and they don't they want to pick it back up, but fear is setting in. Speak to that woman in whatever way you see fit.
Um, I would say pick it back up and pursue it. Cause fear doesn't go away. You'll still be in fear with or without it. But the thing is, you have to constantly remind yourself of who you are and whose you are, and do it afraid. I do this every year afraid. Let's be clear. Ursula Smith does this production every year. Like, ooh, okay. I'm like this one moment. Ah, and I'm like, hmm. Because each year brings on its challenges, and
Mm-hmm.
that's to, you know what I'm saying. That's to anything in life, you know. So to those women out there, they're like, you know, well, I got 3 kids, 4 kids, a husband, or I ain't got time. Listen, I have a 1 year old, a 3 year old, and a 7 year old. I'll be married 8 years next year, and I just started this whole married wife thing uh, several years ago, right? So that don't don't let that be your excuse as to why you don't pursue it. You got to wake up every day with a fire in your behind and push forth. I mean, you know, and it sounds so cliche-ish, but it's true. And just as I started with a piece of paper and a pen, because if you can't see it, you can't dream it, you can't create it, and you definitely can't be it. So constantly, whatever that vision is in your head, get it on paper. Paper is my best friend. I've been journaling since I was 15. And you got to write those things down, and then you got to speak over it. You got to tell yourself that you can. When you feel like you can't, you have to tell yourself that you're a doer when you know you don't feel like doing. So it's kind of like you have to bring yourself to those affirmations and those positive. You got to tell yourself, you got to pull yourself together. You got to constantly talk to yourself, speak over yourself. And I know that's like, you know, it's like, well, I heard that before, but have you done it?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody need to say that. I well, they just, but have you done it though?
Mm-hmm.
Have when the last time you said you can do it? When the last time you heard you told yourself you're a go getter, you can get it done. You're the head, not the tail. You're above only, but never beneath. You're a lender, not to borrow. You can do all things through Christ who give you strength, as my son would say, strength and power. We be remixing scriptures around here, but I hope that encouraged. I do. You know, my son, he's 7. He think he's a Power Ranger. But I hope that encouraged and helped somebody. You know, and it's never too late. It's never too late because when it's in your heart, it's either two things: either you die with it in your heart, or you'll die pursuing it, you know what I'm saying? Or you'll live pursuing every day towards that. You know what I'm saying? So it's you got two options. So which one? You can either keep delaying it or you can get to work.
Absolutely.
That's it. I hope that
Abs-
helped.
Absolutely. So, Ursula, give us the days to the performance once again and the times.
Oh, okay. So it's December 17th, 7:30. And I just got a message. I'm sorry. I hope I don't seem distracted. So it's 10 VIPs left. Somebody just bought some more. I'm so excited. Y'all buy these tickets. So December 17th for 7:30. And then that Sunday, December 18th at 4 o'clock. Listen, brownsugernutcracker.com, or you can go through Ursula Smith Dance.com. Get those tickets. I promise you, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, it's gonna put on all the emotions of you're gonna leave impacted, empowered. The most beautiful thing I've seen over the years is when the elders bless your work. When the elders can pull you and say, baby, I'm 70 some years old and I've never been inspired. Like, you know, when they bless your stuff, that says I'm in the moving in the right direction. So it's for all ages, young, old, rich, poor, black, white. It's an amazing production. Guys, come out and see it.
And Ursula did not ask me to do this, but tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. It is a nationwide thing that we do every year. And as we talked about earlier, the arts and there are several theater arts here in Birmingham. And y'all know me, when I bring something to your forefront, I when I support it, I ask you to do the same thing. So tomorrow on Giving Tuesday, I'm asking that you contact your friends. The flyers and information will be shared on all of my platforms. Please let's support Ursula because she is impacting the lives of small children. She's impacting the lives of girls. She's impacting the lives of young women. She's doing the same with young men. And don't think it's just women because men are being impacted by her
Oh yeah,
work.
my boys are being just. I mean, my boys, and I have I have my youngest is a 5-year old boy, and he is so adorable, and it's like that's his way to develop and grow in the arts. You know what I mean? Everybody's not going to be a football player or basketball, and arts is definitely in music and theater. Those are mediums that create the greatest minds. So yeah.
So yeah, please support this awesome production. And also, if you like to give a donation to her company and everything that she's doing, I believe that information is on her website. Y'all, we have to support the arts, especially for blacks. And y'all know me, I just don't promote what I do, but I promote all of my fellow creators because it's not easy. And
It's
even
not.
though you get grants and financial support, it does cost to put these things on that we bring to you in excellence. So I'm asking you to support Ursula at this time. So, Ursula, I want to thank you for joining. Like I said, you're part of the Perspective family now. This definitely won't be the last time that we have you on the show. And y'all know, as always, get ready for next Monday. Just this whole season, we're going to bring you some great Christmas shows, even working on a little cooking show with you. So for those of you all who saying I need to perfect my kitchen skills, we got you. We got you. You may try to get a baker on, but we are doing shows to keep you all entertained. And before I close out for this evening, let me say this. I know that the holidays are not the happiest for everyone. And I'm asking everyone, be careful how you deal with people, be it someone in your family, on your job, even that friend. Just because you see people smile, you don't know what it takes for them to smile. You don't know that person may be one verge away from breaking down. You don't know the hurt that's on the inside. So just because you see a smile, you don't know what's behind that smile. So this holiday season, give an encouraging word, even if it's just a hug, because this is not a happy time for everyone. So please be mindful of the words that we speak out of our mouths when we're talking to other people, because again, you never know what a person is dealing with. But just a smile, a hug, and I love you, that can go a long way. You don't have to go into any long drawn out conversation, but again, just a hug and I love you, I'm thinking about you. Those things go a long way. So let's be mindful of those things this holiday season. So as always, again, we want to thank Ursula for tonight. Her website is on the bottom of the screen. And so y'all know how we do it. Keep the faith. And as always, I will see you next Monday, same time, same place. Have a great evening.